So, as you all know, I watch a ton of anime. We do a lot of reviews, reactions, impressions. We cover anime. We talk about it here on the channel, which means having to watch a lot of anime makes you, it just naturally makes you a critic, and you're able to kind of pick out things that anime do well, things that they don't do well. When you could tell that a studio is, I hate to use the word lazy because no one's work is necessarily lazy, but I'll use the term cut corners when you can see studios cut corners, whether it be with animation, with dialogue, with narrative, with story, etc., etc., right? Now, why am I saying this? Well, one of the things I've been able to recognize after a lot of anime and after watching and critiquing a lot of anime is when an anime really flexes, it's kind of like directorial and story-driven prowess, and are able to extend beyond the main character. When an anime is able to do that, you know that you're watching something that is very special, and it's kind of like a cut above the rest. Because typically what an anime will do is they focus solely on the main character, and that's not a bad thing at all. When they have a really awesome MC that is really like engaging and fun to watch and stuff, like you don't want to ever break away from that. But what I have found is the anime that is able to break away from that is just kind of a cut above the rest. Certain anime that have done this before in I would say like the recent, in like a year, that I've seen some really, really great anime is we have anime like Mushoku Tensei. We have anime like Horimiya. We have anime kind of like Souma Spider So What. We have anime like Slime Diaries, or like That Time I Was Reincarnated as a Slime. And they're able to pivot, right, towards one of the other characters that surrounds the main character and make it something really engaging and really like just like you don't even know you're missing anything in that episode, right? So in this episode, what they did for How Realist Hero Built the Kingdom is they pivoted away from Souma, and although Souma was okay, here's what happened. So Souma introduced a thing, right? So he introduced they have a hole that they need to fill in the kingdom, which is have people who are office workers, highly trained, educated. They can read, they have grammar, they have writing, they have arithmetic. They're able to do these things that people, common folk, aren't able to do, because like 70% of the kingdom can't read, can't write, can't do arithmetic. So he has a huge hole to fill, and all the people in the kingdom have already filled positions that are available who have those skills. So he is now trying to lean on something different, which I already knew as soon as he said, I was like, education, obviously you're going to set up schools or something. Well, he kind of, yes, but what he's doing is he's using a system that's already in place and then putting education on top of said system, and that is a very gross system, which is slavery. But we understand that this system does exist in the kingdom and kind of around the world, especially the one that he's in now, right? So this slave system exists. So what does the anime do? It then pivots to this guy over here, Ginger, and Ginger has recently, from his deceased grandfather, has received a business, a slave trading business, where his grandfather had a subset of slaves that he had there. And he, Ginger, does not want to be a slave trader. He doesn't like the way it is. He feels icky. It's a gross practice. He doesn't see people as slaves. He sees them as people. So, he has now inherited this business, and he has inherited this group of slaves, this group of people from his grandfather. So what does he do with that, right? Well, because he has a big heart, and because he has a vision for what these people should go to and what they should be, is they should go and they should be welcomed and warmed and employed and taken care of like any other normal person in the kingdom, and they should have rights, etc. So there's a girl, Shia-san, I think her name's San, with a little raccoon girl who kind of pleads to him, and I don't even think that was really necessary, but because of her plea, what he ends up deciding to do is he ends up deciding to make sure that they're clean, clothed, bathed, make sure that they're all presented very well, make sure that they're courteous and articulate, and and he teaches them how to read, how to write. He teaches them arithmetic. And he basically makes them the 1% of the slave trade, right? He makes them so that they have value, whether it's the child or the person who's old. They all have value to go and provide, and they can fill a very specific and niche hole. Well, he then struggles to sell them to anybody because he's also a person who can discern other folks, and he can kind of break them down to their core and see like, oh, this is a good person, this is a bad person. These are not the type of people that I want my people to go to. And finally, he's able to sell these people to a specific subset because Souma has put out a new decree, a royal decree for governors within his domain to have to govern and run themselves. So basically, like kind of how we have here in like the U.S., right? It's like we have the president who runs everything, but each state independently runs, and their success or failure is dependent on how they run their individual state. So they have their own domains that they run, and their success or failure within this kingdom is based on how they run it. So what does that mean? Now they have tons of holes that they need to fill because now they need to go and run tax and reforms and make sure that the populace is fed and make sure that they're self-governing, right? So they need a lot of employees, essentially, that can read and write and do arithmetic and do calculations and all these other things. So they go and they run to this guy, and he has the populace of people in the kingdom that can do these things. So it involves people getting freed and no longer slaves and employed and wived. Two of the girls end up getting immediately wived by them because, you know, I'm sure one of the governors had a romantical sexual interest in these two individuals. And he wives them, and obviously he's going to employ them and have them do things for him as well. But, you know, I mean, like, they now went from slave to wife of a governor. Like, that's a huge leap in socialistic standing. So I tell you guys all the time, I geek out about this anime just because of the way that it does everything so well. It explains it like we're 5. And if you want to dive deeper into what it's doing, you know, it's there for you to eat well. So I guess I'm not going to geek out about it more, but I love the way that they did this. And then Souma comes and does the real test because he's also looking for employees and people to fill a hole. And you know, his new idea of education and slaves and freeing them. Well, he needs somebody to run this ship, and he comes to test Ginger. And offers to basically buy his right-hand girl, which is Sia or Sar, or whatever the hell her name was. And Ginger was already down the path of offering her a partnership, maybe asking for her hand in marriage, or basically, don't ever leave me. I'll free you, don't leave me kind of thing. He was already about to get there, and then Souma interrupted and tried to buy her, and eventually he told her that, you know, hey, Ginger said this to his slave girl, Sia, whatever her name is, you know, don't ever leave me. I want you to be by my side, kind of thing. And she immediately was like, yes, absolutely. And I'm glad that they already kind of had that connection going on. And obviously he passed the test, and then Souma reveals himself as the Majesty, and he offers him employment as being the director of this new vision that he has for the future of slave trading and educating and basically he wants to create an employment system for all these people outside of just dig hole, move rock, you know, which is really awesome. As you guys can tell, I really love this episode, and I love that it was focused on another character. It introduced another character to our chessboard, and they are really cool. I like Ginger, and I like the raccoon girl quite a bit too. So I hope that they get more screen time in the future as he becomes a rotational person, along with Roroa and with Leisha and with Aisha and with Juna and all of them. Pancho. I hope that he ends up becoming, you know, somebody in the rotation. Doesn't need a lot of screen time, but just kind of like let us know what he's working on. Let us know he's there, and I really enjoy that. I'll see you guys next week for episode number 23 of How Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. My friends, see you next week, guys. Peace out.